The stars had never seemed so close yet so far away. Commander Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of the United Earth Space Station, watching the massive alien vessel approach. It was unlike anything humanity had ever built. The ship gleamed with a soft blue light, its surface smooth and curved like a pearl floating in the darkness of space. Jake had been chosen for this moment. First contact. The word still felt unreal in his mind. For decades, humanity had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now the answer was coming directly to them, and Jake was the one who would speak first. The communication system crackled to life. A voice translated by alien technology into perfect English filled the command center. Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Kelvin of the Vrin Collective. We come in peace and friendship. May we request permission to dock with your station? Jake took a deep breath. His hands were steady, but his heart raced. He pressed the communication button. Ambassador Kelvin, this is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earth Space Station. Permission granted. Welcome to our home. 2 hours later, Jake stood in the docking bay watching as the airlock opened. The first alien to step through was tall and slender, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the station's lights. Ambassador Kelvin had 4 arms, each ending in delicate 3-fingered hands. His eyes were large and dark, filled with what Jake could only describe as kindness. Behind Kelvin came 3 more Vrin. One of them, introduced as Dr. Thessa, carried what looked like medical equipment. The other 2 were assistants, their names complex sounds that Jake knew he would never pronounce correctly. Commander Morrison, Kelvin said, his voice soft and melodic. This is a historic moment for both our species. We have traveled far to meet you. Jake extended his hand, then hesitated. Did aliens shake hands? Kelvin seemed to understand the gesture and reached out with one of his 4 hands. His grip was gentle, almost fragile. Please come this way, Jake said. We've prepared a meeting room for you. As they walked through the station's corridors, Jake noticed the aliens looking around with wide eyes. They seemed surprised by everything. The bright lights made them blink. The temperature, set to a comfortable 72 degrees Fahrenheit, caused them to adjust their flowing robes. In the meeting room, Jake had arranged for a simple display of Earth. A holographic globe rotated slowly in the center of the table, showing the blue oceans and green continents. Your world is beautiful, Kelvin said, settling into a chair that seemed too small for his tall frame. We have been listening to your radio signals for many of your years. Your music, your stories, your hopes and dreams. We believe you are ready to join the Galactic Council. Jake felt a surge of pride. Humanity, ready to join a galactic community. It was everything the dreamers had hoped for. We have much to learn from you, Jake said, and perhaps we have something to offer as well. Dr. Thessa spoke for the first time, her voice even softer than Kelvin's. Commander Morrison, if I may ask, what is the oxygen content of your atmosphere? About 21%, Jake replied. Why do you ask? The 4 aliens looked at each other. Thessa's hands trembled slightly as she made notes on a glowing tablet. That is, very high, she said quietly. Most worlds in the galaxy have oxygen levels between 8 and 12%. Your air would be toxic to many species, Jake frowned. Really, I had no idea. What about gravity? Is Earth's gravity normal? Kelvin shifted in his chair, clearly uncomfortable. Commander, what is your world's gravity? 1G standard Earth gravity. That's what we base our measurements on. Another exchange of glances between the aliens. Thessa's hands were shaking more noticeably now. The galactic standard is 0.6 of your gravity, Kelvin explained. Your world has nearly twice the gravitational pull of most inhabited planets. How do you move so easily under such weight? Jake looked down at his own body, suddenly seeing himself through alien eyes. We're just used to it, I guess. We grow up in this gravity. It's normal for us. Remarkable, Thessa whispered. She held up her medical scanner and pointed it at Jake. May I? Jake nodded. The device hummed softly, projecting a 3-dimensional image of his internal organs in the air between them. Thessa gasped. You have 2 kidneys, 2 lungs. Your heart has 4 chambers. Your bones are incredibly dense. Your muscle tissue is layered in a way I have never seen. Commander Morrison, your body is built like a survival machine. I don't understand, Jake said. Isn't this normal? No, Kelvin said firmly. Commander, most species in the galaxy have minimal redundancy in their organs. If one kidney fails, they die. If a bone breaks, it never truly heals. Your body can repair itself from injuries that would be fatal to us. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What are you saying? Dr. Thessa looked at her colleagues before speaking. Commander, tell me about your world. What is the temperature range? Well, it varies, Jake said. In some places, it can get as cold as -90 degrees Fahrenheit. In others, as hot as 135 degrees. But most people live in areas where it ranges from about 30 to 100 degrees. The aliens looked horrified. Kelvin's blue skin seemed to pale even further. That is a variation of more than 200 degrees, he said. On my world, the temperature varies by perhaps 20 degrees throughout the entire year. How do you survive such extremes? We wear appropriate clothing, Jake said, feeling defensive now. We have heating and cooling systems. It's really not that difficult. Does your world have dangerous animals? Thessa asked, her voice barely audible. Jake laughed. Of course. Bears, lions, sharks, crocodiles, venomous snakes, poisonous spiders. But we manage. We stay away from them mostly. The silence in the room was absolute. The four Vryn stared at Jake as if he had just described a nightmare. Commander Morrison, Kelvin said slowly, do you know what a death world is? Jake shook his head. In the galaxy, we classify planets by their danger level. Class 1 worlds are garden paradises, safe and gentle. Class 5 worlds are considered challenging but habitable. Class 8 worlds are dangerous with harsh conditions that require significant technology to survive. Kelvin paused, his dark eyes locked on Jake's face. We have never encountered a Class 12 world with intelligent life. Until now. Commander Morrison, Earth is the most dangerous inhabited planet we have ever discovered. You are not just survivors. You are the ultimate survivors. And that terrifies us. Jake sat back in his chair, his mind reeling. Humanity had always thought of themselves as fragile, vulnerable creatures in a vast universe. Now these gentle aliens were telling him the opposite was true. Earth was a death world, and humans were its apex predators. Dr. Lisa Park had always loved her job. As a biologist specializing in Earth's diverse ecosystems, she spent her days studying everything from deep-sea creatures to desert insects. When Commander Morrison asked her to give a presentation to the Vryn delegation about Earth's life forms, she jumped at the opportunity. She stood now in the largest conference room on the space station, her laptop connected to the holographic display system. The four Vryn sat in specially designed chairs that accommodated their tall frames. Behind them, through a video link, dozens more aliens watched from the Harmony's light. Their ship still docked with the station. Good morning, everyone. Lisa began with a warm smile. I'm Dr. Lisa Park, and today I'm going to share some fascinating information about the biodiversity of Earth. I hope you find it as exciting as I do. Ambassador Kelvin nodded politely, though Lisa noticed he gripped the armrests of his chair tightly. Dr. Thessa had her medical scanner ready, as if she might need it at any moment. Lisa clicked her first slide. A beautiful image of Earth from space appeared, the blue planet glowing against the black void. Earth is approximately 4.5 billion years old, she explained. Life began in our oceans about 3.8 billion years ago. Since then, it has evolved into millions of different species, each adapted to survive in various environments. She clicked to the next slide, showing a great white shark gliding through blue water. This is a shark. Sharks have existed on Earth for over 400 million years. They survived multiple extinction events and continue to thrive in our oceans today. They're apex predators with rows of razor-sharp teeth that constantly replace themselves. Some species can detect a single drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. One of the Vryn assistants made a small sound of distress. Lisa paused. Are you okay? She asked. Please continue, Kelvin said, though his voice sounded strained. Lisa clicked to the next image, a close-up of a black widow spider. This is a spider. We have about 45,000 known species of spiders on Earth. Many of them have venom that can kill their prey. Some can kill humans, though deaths are rare now that we have medicine to counteract the venom. Venom? Dr. Thessa interrupted. You mean poison that is injected through a bite? Yes, exactly, Lisa said. Many Earth creatures use venom to hunt or defend themselves. Spiders, snakes, scorpions, certain fish, even some mammals. It's quite common. The Vryn were silent. Lisa noticed that several of the aliens watching through the video link had left their seats. Should I slow down? Lisa asked, concerned. No, Kelvin said weakly. Please continue. We must understand your world. Lisa clicked through several more slides showing various animals. Each one seemed to cause more distress among her audience. The images of a grizzly bear made Tuvrin faint. The video of a saltwater crocodile launching itself out of water to catch prey caused the video feed to suddenly show several empty chairs. Perhaps we should discuss something less predatory, Lisa suggested. Let me tell you about Earth's weather. She brought up a satellite image of a hurricane, its spiral arms stretching across hundreds of miles of ocean. This is a hurricane. It's a massive storm system that forms over warm ocean waters. The winds can exceed 150 miles per hour. They bring torrential rain, flooding, and destruction. We get several of these every year. Every year? Kelvin whispered. These storms happen regularly? Oh yes, Lisa said cheerfully. We also have tornadoes, which are spinning columns of air that can destroy entire towns. We have blizzards that drop feet of snow and freeze everything. We have droughts that last for years. We have monsoons that bring months of continuous rain. Earth's weather is very dynamic. She clicked to a video of a thunderstorm. Lightning flashed across a dark sky, followed by the deep rumble of thunder. Dr. Thessa stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Stop, please stop the video. Lisa paused it immediately. What's wrong? That light, Thessa said, her voice shaking. What caused that light? Oh, that's lightning. It's an electrical discharge between clouds and the ground. The temperature of a lightning bolt can reach 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, about 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. The thunder is the sound wave created by the rapid heating and cooling of air. The room fell silent. Lisa looked around, confused by the reactions. Do your worlds not have thunderstorms? She asked. No, Kelvin said quietly. Most worlds have gentle rain. No lightning. No thunder. The concept of electrical discharges from the sky that can kill it's like something from a nightmare. Lisa sat down, beginning to understand that her presentation was having an unexpected effect. Maybe I should skip the sections on volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, she said softly. No, Kelvin said, straightening in his chair with visible effort. We need to know. Show us everything. Lisa hesitated, then clicked to the next slide. It showed Mount Vesuvius erupting, lava and ash exploding into the sky. This is a volcano. Earth has about 500 active volcanoes. They erupt when molten rock from deep inside the planet forces its way to the surface. The temperatures can exceed 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Entire cities have been buried by volcanic eruptions throughout our history. She showed images of earthquakes, tsunamis, and wildfires. With each slide, she watched the Vryn become more and more withdrawn. Several more aliens disappeared from the video feed. By the time she reached the section on diseases and microscopic organisms, only Ambassador Kelvin and Dr. Thessa remained in the room with her. Earth has countless microscopic organisms, Lisa explained, showing magnified images of bacteria and viruses. Some are helpful, living in our bodies and helping us digest food. Others are dangerous, causing diseases that have killed millions of humans throughout history. Our immune systems fight these invisible enemies every single day, constantly adapting to new threats. Dr. Thessa was making continuous notes now, her hands moving rapidly across her tablet. And you live with all of this? She asked. The predators, the venom, the weather, the diseases, the geological instability. How has your species not gone extinct? Lisa smiled. We adapt, we learn. We build shelters against the weather. We create medicine to fight diseases. We study the predators and learn to coexist with them. Earth made us tough, I suppose. Tough, Kelvin repeated. That is an understatement, Dr. Park. Lisa clicked to her final slide. It showed a timeline of Earth's history, with 5 marked points highlighted in red. These are Earth's 5 mass extinction events, she said, times when catastrophic events killed off most life on the planet. The most recent one happened 66 million years ago, when an asteroid struck Earth and killed the dinosaurs. Mammals, the ancestors of humans, survived that event. We evolved in a world that had already proven it could wipe out entire species. She turned off the display and looked at her audience. The point I'm trying to make is that Earth is a world of extremes. It challenges life constantly. But that challenge is what drove evolution forward. It's why we have such incredible biodiversity. It's why humans developed problem-solving skills, tool use, and cooperation. We had to, in order to survive. Kelvin stood slowly, his forearms folded across his chest in what Lisa was learning to recognize as a gesture of deep thought. Dr. Park, in the Galactic Council, we have a saying. A gentle world breeds gentle people. We evolved on planets where survival was relatively easy. Food was abundant. Predators were rare. Weather was stable. We never had to become what you became. He walked to the window, looking out at Earth hanging in space below them. We thought we were ready to meet you as equals, but now I wonder if we are ready at all. Your world would kill most of us in days, perhaps hours, yet you thrive there. You call it home. What does that make you compared to us? Lisa joined him at the window, looking down at the blue and white marble of her home planet. It makes us different, she said gently. Not better, just different. You have knowledge and technology we can only dream of. You've built a peaceful galactic community. We have much to learn from you. And we have much to learn from you, Dr. Thessa added, joining them. Survival, adaptation, resilience. These are things our species have never truly needed. Perhaps that is Earth's gift to the galaxy. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with heated debate. Counselor Vex of the Torth Combine stood at the central podium, his silver scales gleaming under the artificial lights of the space station orbiting the Council's homeworld. I do not believe these claims about Earth, Vex declared, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. The humans are exaggerating their world's dangers to make themselves appear more impressive. It is a negotiating tactic, nothing more. Ambassador Kelvin rose from his seat, his forearms gesturing in frustration. I have seen their world from orbit. I have met them face to face. They are not exaggerating. If anything, they are understating the dangers. Then prove it, Vex challenged. Take me to the supposed death world. Let me see with my own eyes. 3 weeks later, Captain Nina Hayes stood on the bridge of the Frontier, Earth's newest exploration vessel. She had been contacted directly by the United Earth government with an unusual request. Take a delegation of alien counselors to Earth and show them around. Simple enough, except for the liability waivers. Nina had spent 2 days reviewing the legal documents. The Galactic Council wanted to send a dozen representatives to Earth's surface. Earth's lawyers had drafted a waiver that basically said, if you die, it's not our fault. The aliens had signed without really understanding what they were agreeing to. Now, as the Frontier descended through Earth's atmosphere, Nina watched the alien delegates with concern. They sat in specially modified chairs in the passenger compartment, their various forms of breathing apparatus already working overtime in the ship's Earth-standard atmosphere. Counselor Vex sat in the front, his scaled face set in determination. Next to him, a floating jellyfish-like creature named Sola bobbed nervously in her containment field. Behind them, representatives from 8 other species watched the view screen with wide eyes as Earth grew larger. Approaching landing zone, called out Ben Carter, the Frontier's science officer. Yellowstone National Park, North America. Weather is clear, temperature 68 degrees Fahrenheit, wind speed 10 miles per hour. That sounds pleasant, Sola said, her translated voice tinkling like bells. Nina and Ben exchanged glances. They had chosen Yellowstone specifically because it was considered one of Earth's safer locations. No large predators in the immediate landing area, no severe weather predicted, just beautiful scenery and geothermal features. The Frontier landed smoothly on a reinforced pad that had been constructed specifically for this visit. Nina stood and addressed her passengers. Welcome to Earth, she said. Before we disembark, I need to review some safety guidelines. Stay close to the group. Do not wander off. Do not approach any animals, no matter how small or harmless they appear. Do not touch any plants without permission. Drink only the water we provide. And if anyone feels unwell, tell me immediately. You make it sound like we are entering a war zone, Vex said dismissively. You are entering a death world, Nina replied bluntly. The war zone comparison is not inaccurate. The loading ramp lowered and Earth's atmosphere rushed into the ship. Several aliens gasped at the oxygen-rich air. Sola's containment field flickered and had to be reinforced. They stepped out onto Earth's soil. The aliens looked around, taking in the vast landscape of Yellowstone. Forests of pine trees stretched to the horizon. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks still capped with snow despite it being summer. The sky was a brilliant blue dotted with white clouds. It is beautiful, admitted one of the delegates, an insect-like being called Trix. Thank you, Nina said. We think so too. Now, if you'll follow me, we have a short walk to the first point of interest. They had gone perhaps 100 yards when Counselor Vex suddenly stopped, breathing heavily. The gravity, he gasped. It is crushing me. We're only walking on flat ground, Ben said, moving to support the counselor. The gravity here is exactly 1G, same as it is everywhere on Earth. How do you function under such weight? Vex demanded, leaning on Ben's arm. We're born in it, Ben explained patiently. Our bones and muscles develop in this gravity from the moment we're conceived. To us, this is normal. They continued at a slower pace. The aliens struggled with every step. What was a casual walk for Nina and Ben became an exhausting trek for the delegates. After 15 minutes, they reached a small viewing area overlooking several geothermal pools. The pools bubbled and steamed, their waters a brilliant turquoise blue ringed with orange and yellow bacterial mats. Beautiful, Sola said, floating closer to the railing. Also deadly, Nina added. Those pools range from 150 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. If you fell in, you would die within seconds. The water is also extremely acidic. It would dissolve your body. The aliens backed away from the railing quickly. And you allow tourists to visit this place? Vex asked, incredulous. Millions of them every year, Nina confirmed. As long as they stay on the designated paths and follow the rules, it's perfectly safe. A low rumble filled the air. The ground trembled slightly beneath their feet. Several aliens cried out in alarm, huddling together. Earthquake? Trix chittered fearfully. No, just Old Faithful, Ben said, pointing to a cone-shaped formation a short distance away. It's a geyser. Watch. Water began to spray from the geyser, first in small spurts, then in a massive column that shot 130 feet into the air. The aliens watched in horror as thousands of gallons of boiling water erupted from the ground, powered by the heat of the Earth itself. The eruption lasted several minutes. When it finally subsided, Counselor Vex turned to Nina with an expression she was learning to recognize as fear. Captain Hayes, what exactly are we standing on right now? Nina glanced at Ben, who nodded encouragingly. They had discussed whether to mention this part. Yellowstone is a supervolcano, Nina explained. The entire park sits on top of a massive magma chamber. If it erupted, it would be a catastrophic event that could affect the entire planet. And you knew this when you brought us here? Vex's voice rose in pitch. Of course, Nina said, but it last erupted 640,000 years ago. The chances of it erupting during our visit are incredibly small. That's why we thought it would be a good, safe location for you to visit. Safe, Vex repeated weakly. You call this safe. The group continued their tour, though the aliens were now visibly nervous. They stopped at a meadow where a herd of bison grazed peacefully in the distance. Those animals looked gentle, Sola observed. Bison can weigh up to 2,000 pounds and run at 35 miles per hour, Ben said. They kill more people in Yellowstone than any other animal, usually tourists who get too close trying to take photos. They kill people? And you still allow them to roam free? Trix was appalled. They were here first, Nina said simply. This is their home. We're just visitors. As they were preparing to head back to the ship, the sky began to darken. Clouds rolled in with surprising speed, blocking out the sun. The temperature dropped noticeably. What is happening? Sola asked, her field crackling with anxiety. Looks like an afternoon thunderstorm, Ben said, checking his weather monitor. Nothing serious. We should head back to the ship, though. They had made it halfway when the rain started. Not a gentle drizzle, but heavy drops that fell like bullets. The aliens cried out, their environmental suits struggling to compensate for the sudden change in temperature and humidity. Then came the lightning. A brilliant fork of electricity split the sky, striking a tree less than a mile away. The thunder followed seconds later, a deep boom that shook the ground. Several aliens collapsed. Vex fell to his knees, his breathing rapid and shallow. Sola's containment field flickered dangerously. We need to get them inside, Nina said urgently, helping Vex to his feet. Now. They half-carried, half-dragged the alien delegates back to the frontier. By the time they got everyone inside, all of the aliens except Vex were unconscious, their bodies in shock from the sudden weather change. Dr. Thessa, who had accompanied the group, worked frantically to stabilize the delegates. Nina stood by helplessly, watching as the Vryn medic administered various treatments. Will they be okay? Nina asked. Physically, yes, Thessa said. Mentally, I am not sure. They have just experienced what their minds perceive as a series of near-death encounters. Counselor Vex, still conscious but shaken, looked at Nina with new eyes. Captain Hayes, I owe you an apology. I thought Ambassador Kelvin was being dramatic. I thought humans were exaggerating. But this, He gestured weakly at the storm still raging outside. This was you showing us your gentle side, was it not? Nina nodded slowly. Yellowstone in summer is considered one of the safest, most beautiful places on Earth. We didn't take you to the Arctic, or the Sahara Desert, or the Amazon rainforest, or the deep ocean trenches. We didn't show you a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake. We showed you a pleasant day in a national park. Vex closed his eyes. Earth is truly a death world beyond our classification system. And humans, they live here. They thrive here. They call this home. Yes, Nina said softly. We do. The Zarkonian Empire had built its power on conquest. Across 40 star systems, their military might was unmatched. When the Zarkonian High Command received intelligence about Earth and its inhabitants, they saw not a threat, but an opportunity. General Crane stood before the assembled War Council, his crimson armor polished to a mirror shine. Behind him, a holographic display showed Earth rotating slowly. The humans are from a death world, Crane explained to the Council. This makes them naturally superior soldiers. Their bodies are stronger, their reflexes faster, their endurance greater than any species in the known galaxy. If we conquer Earth and conscript their population, we will have an army that cannot be defeated. The Council members nodded in agreement. It was logical. The Zarkonians had conquered 40 worlds by identifying each species' strengths and exploiting them. The humans would be their ultimate weapon. 3 months later, the Zarkonian invasion fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 200 warships carrying 500,000 soldiers. It was the largest military operation in Zarkonian history. Admiral Frank Pierce sat in the command chair of the Defiant, Earth's flagship. Around him, the crew worked with calm efficiency, monitoring the incoming threat. Admiral, we're detecting multiple hyperspace signatures, called out Lieutenant Jenny Cole from the sensor station, counting 200 vessels Zarkonian design. They're forming up in attack formation. Frank had been expecting this. Ever since Earth had joined the Galactic Council, there had been whispers that some of the more aggressive species might see humanity as a resource to be exploited. The Zarkonians were predictable in their arrogance. Open a communication channel, Frank ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing General Crane's scarred face. Humans of Earth, Crane said without preamble. You will surrender your world to the Zarkonian Empire. You will serve in our military. Resistance is futile. We outnumber your primitive fleet by 10 to 1. Frank leaned back in his chair, a slight smile on his face. General Crane, this is Admiral Frank Pierce of the Earth Defense Force. I'm going to give you one chance to turn around and leave our system peacefully. Crane laughed. You dare threaten us? We have conquered 40 worlds. Your people have barely left your own planet. Stand down or be destroyed. Your choice, Frank said calmly. He nodded to Lieutenant Cole. Cut the channel. All ships, execute defensive pattern Delta. Fighter squadrons, you are cleared to launch. The Defiant's hangar bays opened, and dozens of small, agile fighters poured out. Leading them was Commander Amy Rogers, one of Earth's most skilled pilots. All fighters, this is Hawk Leader. Amy's voice crackled over the comm. Remember your training. These Zarkonian ships are bigger and more heavily armed, but we're faster and we can pull maneuvers they can't even imagine. Use that advantage. The Zarkonian fleet moved forward, confident in their numerical superiority. They opened fire first, massive energy weapons lancing out toward the human ships. The Earth fleet scattered, each ship moving in patterns that seemed random, but were carefully coordinated. The Zarkonian weapons fire mostly missed, striking empty space where human ships had been moments before. Amy led her fighter squadron in a dive that would have killed most alien pilots. The G-forces pushed her body deep into her seat, but her pressure suit compensated. Years of training in Earth's high gravity had prepared her for this. Her fighters screamed past a Zarkonian cruiser, firing as they went. The cruiser's shields flickered under the assault. Before the Zarkonian gunners could track the fast-moving human fighters, Amy pulled her squadron into a turn that registered 9 Gs on her instrument panel. Inside the Zarkonian ship, alarms blared. The enemy fighters had moved so fast, changed direction so sharply that their tracking systems had lost lock. Several Zarkonian gunners had passed out from the stress of trying to follow the human movements. Impossible, Crane muttered, watching his fleet's tactical display. No pilot can survive those maneuvers, but the humans could. They had evolved on a world with gravity nearly twice the galactic standard. Their bodies were built to withstand forces that would kill other species. The space battle raged for 3 hours. Despite their numerical advantage, the Zarkonians found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Human ships danced between their weapons fire. Human fighters struck and vanished before return fire could be coordinated. Finally, Crane made a decision. If they could not win in space, they would win on the ground. The Zarkonians were experienced ground fighters. They would land troops and overwhelm the humans through sheer numbers. All forces prepare for planetary assault, Crane ordered. We land in the region they call Australia. The desert terrain will be to our advantage. In a command center deep beneath Sydney, Sergeant Danny Price received the alert. The Zarkonians were landing in the outback, probably thinking the open desert would make for an easy battlefield. Danny almost felt sorry for them. Almost. All units. Prepare for contact, Danny said into his comm. The enemy is landing in Sector 7. Temperature is currently 110 degrees Fahrenheit and rising. Stay hydrated and stick to the plan. The Zarkonian dropships landed in a cloud of red dust. Soldiers poured out, their weapons ready. They had trained for this. Planetary assault was their specialty. Within an hour, they realized their mistake. The heat was unbearable. Zarkonia's average temperature was a pleasant 75 degrees Fahrenheit, with minimal variation. The Zarkonian soldiers had never experienced anything like the Australian outback in summer. Their armor, designed for temperate climates, became ovens. Cooling systems struggled and failed. Soldiers began to collapse from heat exhaustion. Then the wildlife found them. A Zarkonian private screamed as something bit his ankle. He looked down to see a small snake slithering away. Within minutes, his leg was swelling, the venom spreading through his system. Another soldier brushed against a spider web and felt a sharp pain. A redback spider, barely the size of his fingernail, had bitten him. The Zarkonians had never encountered venomous creatures before. Their home world had evolved without such defenses. They had no natural immunity, no experience treating such injuries. Medic! The cry went up across the Zarkonian lines. Danny and his unit watched from a ridge, their position concealed by camouflage netting. They're dropping like flies, observed Corporal Pete Lang peering through his binoculars, and we haven't even engaged them yet. The outback is doing our job for us, Danny said, but we should probably put them out of their misery. All units advance. The human soldiers moved forward, comfortable in the heat that was destroying the Zarkonian force. They wore light, breathable uniforms and carried plenty of water. This was their world. They knew how to survive here. The battle, if it could be called that, was brief. The Zarkonians, already weakened by heat and venom, could barely fight back. Those who could stand found themselves facing soldiers who moved with ease in the crushing gravity and oppressive heat. Night fell, and with it came a new horror for the Zarkonians. The temperature dropped 40 degrees in a matter of hours. What had been an oven became a freezer. Zarkonian soldiers, their temperature regulation systems already overwhelmed, began to go into shock. Their bodies could not cope with such rapid change. In orbit, General Crane watched his ground forces collapse on the tactical display. Not from enemy fire, but from the environment itself. Retreat, he ordered, his voice hollow. All forces return to the ships. We are leaving this cursed world. The Zarkonian fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind hundreds of soldiers too injured or sick to evacuate. Earth's forces collected them, provided medical care, and eventually returned them to Zarkonian space. The video of Zarkonian soldiers fleeing from a curious kangaroo that had hopped into their camp went viral across the galaxy within days. The mighty Zarkonian Empire, conqueror of 40 worlds, defeated not by human weapons but by human weather. Admiral Frank Pierce stood in the command center, reading the final casualty reports. Earth's forces had suffered minimal losses. The Zarkonians had lost nearly 30% of their invasion force, mostly to environmental factors. Sir, Lieutenant Cole said quietly, the Galactic Council is requesting a meeting. They want to discuss Earth's defensive capabilities. Frank nodded. Tell them we'll send a delegation. And tell them the truth. We didn't defeat the Zarkonians. Earth did. We just live here. Commander Amy Rogers joined him, still in her flight suit. Think they'll try again? She asked. Frank looked at the image of Earth on the main screen. Their beautiful, deadly home. No, he said confidently. Word will spread. The Zarkonians came to conquer a death world and learned why that's a bad idea. I don't think anyone will make that mistake again. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest gathering in the organization's 1,000-year history. Representatives from all 247 member species filled the vast chamber, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of sounds, lights, and telepathic pulses. Ambassador Kelvin stood at the central podium, his forearms spread in a gesture of peace and urgency. The Zarkonian defeat has shown us something important, Kelvin began. For too long we have feared Earth and its people. We have called them Deathworlders, apex predators, survivors of the impossible. All of this is true, but fear is not the appropriate response. A murmur ran through the chamber. Counselor Vex, still recovering from his traumatic visit to Yellowstone, raised a scaled hand to speak. What would you have us do, Ambassador? Welcome these dangerous beings with open arms? Yes, Kelvin said simply. Because we need them. The galaxy needs them. Before Vex could respond, the chamber doors opened. Dr. Helen Foster walked in, flanked by Commander Jake Morrison and Captain Nina Hayes. Helen had been appointed as Earth's official ambassador to the Galactic Council, a position she had accepted with both excitement and trepidation. She made her way to the podium, very aware of the hundreds of alien eyes watching her every move. Some looked at her with fear, others with curiosity, a few with what might have been hope. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Helen began, her voice steady despite her nerves. I stand before you not as a representative of a death world, but as a representative of a people who want nothing more than to be part of this great community. She activated a holographic display, showing images of Earth. Yes, our world is dangerous. Yes, we evolved in conditions that most of you would find lethal. But that harsh environment taught us something valuable. It taught us to work together, to adapt, to never give up no matter how difficult things become. Helen clicked through images showing human cooperation, firefighters rescuing people from burning buildings, doctors treating diseases, engineers building in harsh environments, scientists solving impossible problems. We don't see ourselves as superior to you, Helen continued. We see ourselves as different with different strengths. You have built a civilization based on peace and knowledge. We can contribute our own strengths to that foundation. A small furry delegate from the Mixian species stood up. What strengths could possibly justify the risk of allowing Deathworlders into our community? Let me answer that, said a new voice. A Vryn scientist named Torin entered the chamber carrying a data tablet. He had been working with human researchers for the past 3 months, studying Earth's unique biology and technology. 3 months ago, the colony on Titan 7 suffered a catastrophic mining accident, Torin explained. 47 miners were trapped 2 miles beneath the surface of a volcanic moon. The temperature at that depth exceeds 400 degrees Fahrenheit. The atmosphere is toxic. The pressure would crush most rescue equipment. He paused, looking around the chamber. Every species in the galaxy declared the rescue impossible. The miners were given up for dead, but the humans said they would try. Torin activated his own display, showing footage of the rescue operation. A team of human miners and engineers traveled to Titan 7. They went down into conditions that we declared unsurvivable. They worked for 72 hours straight in heat that would have killed any of us within minutes. They brought back all 47 miners alive. The chamber erupted in surprised chatter. Many had heard rumors of the Titan 7 rescue but hadn't believed them. This is what humans do, Torin said. They survive the unsurvivable. They accomplish the impossible. Not because they are better than us, but because their world prepared them for challenges we cannot even imagine. Helen nodded her thanks to Torin and addressed the council again. Earth would like to propose a new role within the Galactic Council. We call it the Death World Specialist Division. When you face environmental disasters, extreme rescue operations, or research in dangerous conditions, you call on us. We will go where others cannot. We will do what others consider impossible. Counselor Vex stood slowly, his expression thoughtful. And what do you ask in return for these services? The same thing every member species receives, Helen said. Knowledge, technology, trade, friendship. We don't want special treatment. We just want to help. The council debated for hours. Some species remained fearful. Others saw the potential. Finally, after much discussion, a vote was called. The measure passed with an overwhelming majority. Earth was not only welcomed as a full member of the Galactic Council, but given the honor of establishing the new Death World Specialists Division. 6 months later, Commander Jake Morrison stood in the briefing room of the newly constructed Earth Embassy on the Council's home world. Before him sat a mixed team of humans and aliens, the first joint task force of its kind. "Our mission is straightforward," Jake explained. "The scientific outpost on Glacier 9 has stopped responding to communications. The planet is an ice world with surface temperatures of -200 degrees Fahrenheit. A standard rescue mission would take weeks to prepare. We're going now." The human team members checked their cold weather gear with practiced efficiency. The alien team members, including Dr. Thessa and Science Officer Torin, watched with a mixture of nervousness and determination. "I know this will be difficult for you," Jake said to the aliens, "but you insisted on coming and we're glad to have you. Your knowledge of the outpost systems will be invaluable. We'll keep you safe." The mission was a success. The outpost crew was found alive, their heating systems damaged by a meteor strike. The human team worked in the brutal cold with minimal discomfort, their bodies adapted to Earth's temperature extremes. The alien team members, protected by advanced environmental suits, contributed their technical expertise to repair the damaged systems. When they returned to Earth Embassy, Dr. Thessa approached Jake. "I understand now," she said, "what Earth has given you. It is not just physical strength or endurance. It is the mindset that no problem is truly impossible, that there is always a solution if you are willing to work hard enough to find it." Jake smiled. "That's exactly right. Earth taught us to never give up." Meanwhile, on Earth itself, a new program was beginning. Selected aliens were being given the opportunity to visit Earth under carefully controlled conditions. It was part education, part cultural exchange, and part extreme adventure tourism. A group of young Vrin students stood at the base of a small mountain in Colorado, looking up at the trail ahead of them. "This is considered an easy hike for humans," explained their guide, a cheerful woman named Kelly Price. "It's only 3 miles, with an elevation gain of 1,000 feet. Take your time, use your support equipment, and I promise you'll make it." The Vrin students, wearing gravity assist suits and breathing enriched air, started up the trail. What would have taken a human an hour took them 4. But when they reached the summit and looked out over the Rocky Mountains, their exhaustion turned to awe. "We did it," whispered one student. "We climbed a Death World mountain." Kelly smiled. "You did. And you know what that means? It means you're stronger than you thought. That's what Earth teaches everyone who visits. You're capable of more than you believe." In the years that followed, Earth became known throughout the galaxy not as a place to fear, but as a place of challenge and growth. Species who wanted to test their limits came to Earth. Scientists who needed help with dangerous research called on human specialists. Rescue operations in extreme environments always included human team members. The Death World Specialists Division grew to include hundreds of humans working across the galaxy. They became legendary for their ability to work in impossible conditions, their refusal to give up, and their willingness to risk their lives for others. Lieutenant Casey Miller stood at the window of the Galactic Academy, looking out at the stars. She had just graduated top of her class, the first human to do so. Tomorrow she would begin her assignment as a specialist with the Deep Space Exploration Division. Her roommate, a Torth named Silvex, joined her at the window. "Nervous about your first mission?" Silvex asked. "A little," Casey admitted. "We're exploring an uncharted system near a neutron star. The radiation levels are extreme." Silvex made a sound that Casey had learned was laughter. "Of course they are. That is why they are sending you. A human from Earth, nothing is too extreme for you." Casey smiled. "We're not invincible, you know. We're just persistent." "That is what the galaxy needs," Silvex said. "Not invincible heroes, but persistent ones. People who do not give up, no matter how difficult things become. Earth has given the galaxy a great gift. You have shown us that the impossible is just the difficult that takes a little longer." Casey looked out at the stars, thinking about her homeworld. Beautiful, deadly Earth, the planet that had forged humanity in fire and ice, in gravity and pressure, in danger and wonder. "Earth made us what we are," Casey said softly, "and now we share that strength with everyone. Not to dominate, but to help. Not to conquer, but to protect. That's humanity's purpose in the galaxy. And we are grateful for it," Silvex said. Across the galaxy, on 247 worlds, people looked up at the stars and knew that if they ever faced the impossible, if they ever needed someone to venture into danger and bring back hope. 5 years had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. The Death World Specialist Division had grown beyond anyone's expectations, with human teams stationed on 70 different worlds, ready to respond to emergencies that other species considered impossible. But not everyone in the galaxy was happy about humanity's growing influence. On the industrial world of Mechanon Prime, a secret meeting was taking place. Representatives from 12 different species sat around a circular table, their faces hidden by holographic shadows. "The humans are becoming too powerful," hissed a delegate from the Serpian collective. "Every disaster, every crisis, they are there. The other species are beginning to depend on them, to admire them. Worse," added a Torth representative, "they are changing us. Our young people visit Earth and come back different. They push themselves harder. They take risks they never would have taken before. The humans are infecting our cultures with their death world mentality." The leader of this secret council was a Zarkonian general named Vortan, younger brother to the disgraced General Crane who had led the failed invasion of Earth. "My brother was a fool," Vortan said coldly. "He tried to conquer Earth through force, but there are other ways to eliminate a threat. We cannot defeat the humans in battle, so we will destroy their reputation instead." He activated a holographic display showing a dangerous planet on the edge of known space. "This is Inferno Prime, a volcanic world with extreme seismic activity, toxic atmosphere, and temperatures that fluctuate wildly. No species has ever successfully established a permanent settlement there, despite the rich mineral deposits beneath the surface." Vortan smiled, an expression that held no warmth. "We will invite the humans to attempt what we have all failed to do. We will ask them to build a mining colony on Inferno Prime. When they fail, when they suffer casualties, the galaxy will see that even the mighty humans have their limits. Their reputation will be shattered." Back on Earth, Dr. Helen Foster received the formal request from the Galactic Mining Consortium. They wanted human expertise to help establish a colony on Inferno Prime. The message was polite and official, listing the substantial payment being offered. Helen sat in her office at Earth Embassy, reading the proposal with growing concern. Something about it felt wrong. "What do you think?" she asked Commander Jake Morrison, who stood by her window looking out at the embassy gardens. "I think it's a trap," Jake said bluntly. "Inferno Prime has been studied by the galaxy's best scientists for decades. No one has figured out how to survive there long term. Now suddenly they want us to try?" "But if we refuse, it will look like we're afraid," Helen said. "Like we're backing down from a challenge." Jake turned to face her. "Then we don't refuse. We accept, but we do it smart. Send a small team first, just to assess the situation. No commitment to a full colony until we know what we're dealing with." 2 weeks later, a small ship called the Pioneer landed on Inferno Prime. The team consisted of 6 people: geologist Dr. Ryan Clark, engineer Stephanie Cruz, biologist Dr. Greg Palmer, medic officer Laura Kim, pilot Nathan Wright, and team leader Captain Philip Hayes. The moment they stepped out of the ship, they understood why this world had defeated every previous attempt at colonization. The ground shook constantly with minor earthquakes. The atmosphere was a mix of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide, completely unbreathable. The temperature was currently 180 degrees Fahrenheit, but their instruments showed it could drop to -50 within hours. "Well," Philip said, his voice crackling through the comm system in his environmental suit, "this is definitely the worst place I've ever been. Worse than that time we did the rescue mission in the acid rain on Corrosive 7. Nathan asked. "Much worse," Philip confirmed. "At least on Corrosive 7 the ground stayed still." Ryan was already taking readings, his instruments gathering data on the seismic activity. His expression, visible through his helmet, was troubled. "Captain, you need to see this," he said. The team gathered around Ryan's portable display. It showed a map of the planet's tectonic plates, color-coded for seismic activity. "The entire planet is geologically unstable," Ryan explained. "Not just active, but chaotic. The plates move in unpredictable patterns. This isn't like Earth, where we can predict earthquakes based on historical data. Here, a major quake could happen anywhere at any time." Stephanie, the engineer, pulled up the plans for the proposed colony. The consortium's design calls for a surface installation with underground mining operations. "That won't work here. The surface installations would be destroyed by the first major quake, and the underground tunnels would collapse. So it is impossible, Laura said quietly. Philip looked at his team. Is it? Or do we just need to think differently? Over the next 3 days, the team worked around the clock. They battled the temperature extremes, the constant earthquakes, and the toxic atmosphere. They studied the planet's patterns, looking for any kind of regularity they could exploit. On the 4th day, Greg made a discovery. The volcanic vents, he said excitedly, calling the team together. Look at the distribution. He showed them a map he had created, marking every active volcanic vent on the planet's surface. They form a network. The vents release pressure from the magma chambers below. If we build our colony near a cluster of vents, we can use them as natural pressure release points. The ground there is actually more stable because the pressure is being released continuously rather than building up to major quakes. Stephanie immediately saw the engineering possibilities. We could build a floating platform, anchored but with flexibility to move with the tremors. Use the heat from the vents for power. Filter the atmospheric gases for useful elements. It would be like living on a boat in a permanent storm, Nathan said. Earth has people who do that, Philip pointed out. Oil rig workers, floating research stations, houseboats in tsunami zones. We know how to live on unstable platforms. They spent another week designing and testing a small prototype structure. It worked. The floating platform absorbed the seismic shocks rather than fighting against them. The volcanic vents provided abundant geothermal energy. The toxic atmosphere, when properly filtered, yielded useful industrial gases. When they returned to the Galactic Council with their findings, the secret council of human opponents was shocked. Impossible, Vortan hissed in his hidden meeting room. They were only supposed to assess the situation, not solve it. But the humans had done more than solve it. They had made it look easy. Within 6 months, construction began on Inferno Base, the first permanent settlement on Inferno Prime. The colony was designed by Stephanie Cruz and built by a team of human engineers working alongside alien specialists who wanted to learn these new techniques. The base was a marvel of adaptive engineering, floating platforms connected by flexible walkways, buildings designed to sway with the tremors rather than resist them, power systems that turned the planet's violence into useful energy. Dr. Helen Foster stood at the dedication ceremony, watching as the Galactic Mining Consortium officially opened Inferno Base. The alien dignitaries present looked at the installation with a mixture of awe and disbelief. Counselor Vex approached Helen, his scaled face showing an expression she had learned to recognize as respect. You have done it again, he said. Achieved what we thought impossible. We had good motivation, Helen replied. And good teachers. Teachers? Helen smiled. Earth. Our world taught us that survival isn't about avoiding danger. It's about adapting to it, finding ways to live with the chaos rather than fighting against it. As the ceremony continued, Helen noticed a group of young aliens watching the human engineers with fascination. They were taking notes, asking questions, clearly eager to learn. This, Helen realized, was the real victory. Not just building a base on an impossible world, but showing others that impossible was just a word. That with creativity, determination, and the willingness to think differently, any challenge could be overcome. In his secret meeting room, Vortan watched the dedication ceremony through a live feed. His plan had failed. Worse, it had backfired. The humans hadn't just succeeded. They had made it look so achievable that other species were now eager to try similar projects. What do we do now? Asked the Serpian delegate. Vortan was silent for a long moment. Then he did something that surprised everyone in the room. He laughed. We join them, he said. What? Look at what they have accomplished. Look at how they have changed the galaxy in just 5 years. We wanted to stop them because we feared their influence. But perhaps their influence is exactly what the galaxy needs. He stood up, deactivating his holographic shadow so his face was visible for the first time. I propose we disband this council. Instead of working against the humans, we should learn from them. They have shown us that our limitations are not fixed, that we are capable of more than we believed. One by one, the other delegates deactivated their shadows. Some looked relieved. Others looked thoughtful. But none disagreed. The secret council dissolved that day, its members returning to their respective governments with a new perspective. On Inferno Prime, Captain Philip Hayes stood on one of the floating platforms watching the sunset. The sky turned shades of orange and red as volcanic ash scattered the light. It was beautiful in a harsh, dangerous way. His communicator beeped. It was a message from